The words, "I love you," hung in the air, a sickly sweet perfume clinging to a corpse. They were her standard response every time I voiced my anxieties, a verbal bandage slapped over a festering wound. This time, however, my anxiety wasn't imagined. It was a cold, hard fact, printed in black and white on the DNA report clutched in my hand. We sat in the living room, a space we'd meticulously curated together, now tainted with the stench of her lies. Sunlight streamed through the windows, highlighting the dust motes dancing in the air, oblivious to the implosion about to occur. Ellie, my wife of 10 years, sat opposite me, a nervous flutter in her usually composed demeanor. She was beautiful, even in her anxiety, her emerald eyes wide, her blonde hair cascading around her shoulders. I'd once thought those eyes held only love for me. Now, I saw a flicker of fear. "You seem stressed, honey," she said, her voice laced with practiced concern. "What is it?" I held up the report. "This," I stated, my voice devoid of any emotion. Her gaze darted to the document, her breath catching in her throat. The color drained from her face, leaving her a ghostly white. The confident, almost condescending air she'd worn for weeks evaporated, replaced by a raw, primal fear. It was beautiful, in a twisted, karmic sort of way. Where did you get that?" she stammered, her voice barely a whisper. Her hand flew to her mouth, as if trying to stifle the truth that threatened to spill out. "Does it matter?" I asked, my voice laced with ice. "The results speak for themselves. Liam isn't mine. Liam, our 4-year-old son, the boy with my brown eyes and her infectious laugh, the boy I adored with every fiber of my being, wasn't mine." The realization hit me afresh, a physical blow to the gut. The silence in the room was deafening. The clock on the mantelpiece ticked, each tick hammering home the reality of my situation. Ellie finally found her voice, a weak, pathetic plea. "It's not what you think, David. It's complicated." Complicated. I laughed, a harsh, hollow sound. "Sleeping with another man while married to me, while carrying my supposed child, is complicated." The tears started then, fat, crocodile tears that did nothing to soften the hardened steel in my heart. She launched into a well-rehearsed confession, filled with half-truths and carefully worded omissions. It was a pathetic performance, one I'd seen 1,000 times before in bad daytime television. "It was a mistake," she sobbed. "A one-time thing. I swear. I love you, David. I love you and Liam." The words, "I love you," again. Empty, hollow, meaningless. "Save it, Ellie," I said, my voice flat. "I know who the father is." Her head snapped up, her eyes wide with panic. How did you?" "Let's just say a mutual acquaintance has a loose tongue, and I have a good memory for faces," I replied, my gaze fixed on hers. "Jaden Ashford, your colleague, the one you've been working late with for the past 6 months." The blood drained from her face again. She knew she was caught. Completely and utterly caught. "I'm going to see Liam," I stated, rising to my feet. "And then I'm leaving. You have 24 hours to get out of my house." I didn't look back as I left the room. I didn't want to see the wreckage I'd left behind. Over the next few weeks, I went through the motions of my life like a robot. I saw a lawyer, initiated divorce proceedings, and arranged for visitation with Liam. The pain was a constant companion, a dull ache that never subsided. But amidst the pain, a new emotion began to brew: anger. A cold, hard anger directed at Jaden Ashford. I found him easily enough. He lived in a trendy loft apartment in the city, the type of place a single, successful advertising executive would inhabit. I didn't bother with pleasantries. I simply walked up to him as he left his building, my fist connecting with his jaw before he even had a chance to register my presence. He stumbled back, clutching his face, his eyes wide with shock. "What the hell? You know damn well what the hell," I snarled, grabbing him by the collar and slamming him against the wall. "You slept with my wife. You fathered a child under false pretenses." His eyes flickered with fear, but a smirk quickly replaced it. "Ellie told me you were finished. That it was just a matter of time before you signed the papers." "She lied," I said, my voice dangerously low. "Just like she lied to me for years. You messed with the wrong family, Ashford." I released him, pushing him away with disgust. "You're going to pay for this. Both of you." And I made good on my promise. I didn't resort to physical violence again. I didn't need to. I had something far more potent: the truth. I contacted Jaden's wife, a quiet, unassuming woman named Emily. She had no idea about the affair, about the child. The look on her face when I told her, when I showed her the DNA report, was a mirror of my own devastation weeks earlier. Then I went to Jaden's company. His reputation as a family man, a pillar of the community, was carefully cultivated. I made sure that facade crumbled, revealing the adulterer beneath. His career went up in flames. His wife left him, taking their 2 daughters with her. He became a pariah. Ellie didn't fare much better. The divorce proceedings were messy, drawn out, and public. She lost everything: her friends, her reputation, her career. She became a social outcast, a cautionary tale whispered in hushed tones. I moved out of the city, bought a small house in the countryside, and focused on rebuilding my life with Liam. It wasn't easy. The scars remained, a constant reminder of the betrayal. But with each passing day, the pain lessened, replaced by a quiet strength. I never regretted my actions. They were justified, necessary. They were the only way I could find peace, the only way I could start to heal. Ellie and Jaden had built their happiness on a foundation of lies and deceit. I simply ensured that foundation crumbled, taking them down with it. And in the downfall, I found my own, twisted form of redemption.